Hi guys, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, can you hear me guys? Okay, let me share the screen. So able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in this training, just we have finished about the Linux session and scripting part. So inside the scripting, we have gone through shell script, syntax and how to write the logics. We have gone through it. So next, these are the basics to your DevOps. So before starting the DevOps, like we are regularly using the commands. So if you are using any Linux commands or anything, so that comes with your Linux sessions one. Scripting is not mandatory, like if you are not from the coding background. Okay, so if you are not from the coding background, don't worry. So just understanding the syntaxes like loops, for loops, while loops, conditional checking, those things we need to check it from the scripting side. Okay, so now when it comes to the DevOps things, so if any DevOps project you are going to handle it, so they are going to talk about this thing. Anywhere in the interview or if you are joining any company or if you are working in any organization, so they mainly discuss about the CI/CD process. Okay, for every project, any domain you take it. You are working on any project, any domain. Okay, and any programming language. Okay, so the project is running on the Java based project, or it may be a .NET project. It may be a Node.js, AngularJS, any type of a project it is. So it doesn't matter. So we are going to implement any type of a project for CI/CD process. So what is meant by CI/CD? CI stands for continuous integration. And CD stands for continuous delivery or continuous deployment. Okay, so this is the for every project you are working at. So DevOps is completely handling your CI/CD process. Okay, so what is meant by CI/CD process is nothing but, for example, this is your project code. So project codes, for example, you take Flipkart only. So Flipkart, if you want to work with Flipkart, www.flipkart.com, if you type in the browser, so immediately you will get login page or sign up page. Okay, so entire Flipkart project, if you are going to work it, so that project was developed in any programming language. So what the DevOps role is? So what's your DevOps role? DevOps role is, so different developers are which are working in a particular project or particular domain. So this is a developer 1, developer 2, developer 3, n number of developers are working on the code. So they are going to push the code to the single repository. So this repository, we are going to call it as a central repository. Okay, so if you see this code, we are going to work on a single repository. Okay, so these different developers, they are working from different geographic. They are working for different geographic location. So let me. Okay, so now this developer 1, he is working from any location. He may working from India, US, Singapore, anything. So different developers are different developers which are working in the project. So they are continuously pushing the code to the central repo. What we need to do? So this central repository, we need to contains an entire project code. It may be any type of a code. So developers are pushing the code. So we are maintaining the code in the central repository. So once this code is done, so we need to have a centralized tool that is called building the code. We need to build the code. So we need to scan the code. Okay. 1 minute, guys. I'm getting one important call. Okay. So whenever you see CI/CD process, so here the developers are pushing the code to the central repository. and this what are the code they have written for the particular project. So we need to build the code. So we need to scan the code. So we need to perform some test cases. We need to perform test cases. So finally, we are going to deploy this code into the various environments. Like we have the real-time scenario, we have multiple environments are there. So these environments are like Dev, SAT, UAT, and production. Okay. So like that, what are the code the developers are writing? So they will push the code to the central repository. They will build it, scan it, test it. So once it is working fine, they are pushing the code to the multiple environments. So this is a complete workflow of your DevOps. Wherever you see the DevOps concept, so it may be any kind of a project, any kind of a domain you take it. So what are the tools we are going to use it? So the whole process will be involved here only. Final ultimate of the project is, so what are the code we are working? It's like a Flipkart application, Amazon, Gmail, any application we are taking it. So the developers will write the code. So they will push the code. So we are going to build the code. We are going to scan the code, test the code, and deploy the code into the various environments. To do all these activities, we are going to implement a DevOps tools. So first thing is developers are working on the code. So this central repository, the codes are working out. So first thing is we have the SCM. SCM is nothing but source code management. So the developers are maintaining in the source code management. So the developers are writing the code and centrally visible to every person in the team. Okay, so this is the way. So in the real-time scenario, we are going to see a lot of tools are available in the market, but most used tools in the real-time scenario is Bitbucket. So even if you learn one of the SCM tool, they will ask you, do you have knowledge and have you worked on the Bitbucket? Have you worked on the GitLab? Okay, so did you know Git? Okay, so these are the common tools which are regularly using by different organizations. So one company may use one source code management tool, another company may use one source code management tool, one company may use one source code. All the tools will do the same activity, but different companies, they have developed their own tool. Okay, so this comes under your source code management, where we are going to store our project code, only project code, not except other things, softwares, zip files, important files, nothing we are going to store it. Only the project related. If it is a Flipkart, means Flipkart related code only. Amazon means Amazon code. Like that, any type of project you are working on it. So you are storing source code means only project related code, not extra things. So that we can discuss under the source code management. So next thing is once source code management becomes, so then we are going with the next step called build automation tools. So what is meant by build automation tool? So individual developer, they can take the code and they can build the code in the local machine. But our DevOps goal is that, so we need to have a centralized tool so that everybody, what is the status of our project? So whether the build is success, whether able to build it or not. So we have to see everything centrally. Every person in the team can see the project status. So that can be done. What are the code we have developed and push it to the source code management? So next step is we need to build the code. So for build automation, we are going to use Jenkins. Okay, and other tools also there in the real-time scenario. So if you know, I know only about the build automation tool. If you know Jenkins means that is not enough. Like they will go with alternative tools. So how we have the scripting alternative tools, like if you are working in the Windows, we should have knowledge in the PowerShell. So if you are good at Python script. So all the three things will come under the scripting one. But if you are able to habituated, or if you know one type of language, so we can easily adapt other scriptings also. So same thing here also, build automation tool. So most of the companies are using Jenkins. How to build your code, how to scan your code, how to push the packages to the Artifactory tools. So everything we can discuss here. So in the Jenkins, not only this one, so we have to have scanning the code, pushing the artifacts. Okay, So like that, we have alternative tools are there. Maven, like this. Okay, so lot of alternative tools are available that comes under the Jenkins only. So Jenkins, we can call it as a heart for the DevOps. So it can be integrated anything. Okay, so without Jenkins, I think there will be no DevOps you can relate as. So in the real-time scenario, after learning every tool, so nobody will guarantee that you should be working on all the tools. You may get a chance to work on Ansible only. Our project is completely dealing with Ansible, means you might get chance to work on the Ansible. If you are good at Kubernetes, so they will ask us to work on only on the Kubernetes part. Okay, so like that. So once this build is done, we are going to have the configuration management tools. So what is this configuration management tools? Like Chef, Puppet, and Ansible. So these are the three tools which can come under your configuration management tool. So directly we can't tell that we can't deploy the application to the server. So the server has to have configurations has to be done. Something like Java should be installed, Tomcat should be installed, Maven should be installed, some folder structure, logs, path. Okay, so everything we need to configure the server, then only we can deploy our application to the server. So in order to configure all the servers in an automation way, so we are going with configuration management tool. This is not comes under the infrastructure as a code. So already the infrastructure has been set up. For the infrastructure, we are doing the configurations. Infrastructure as a code is different. Ansible will not come under the infrastructure as a code. It will come under as a configuration management tool. Already the server setup is done. Then we are going to configure the server. Any type of activity you can perform in the server, that through automation. So these three tools are used in the real-time scenarios. So, but most of the companies currently using Ansible. If it is a old projects like 10 years project, 8 years project, old projects, still they are using the maintenance phase, you may get a chance to work on these tools. Okay, all the three tools will do the same activity, configuring the servers. Okay, so next thing is, now everybody is seeing about the concepts called Docker. Okay, so Docker is very important. So it is like a containerization tools. Okay, so if your application is working in one machine, suppose he has written one code. So he has written one code. So he has pushed his code. He has pulled the code in his machine. In his machine, it is working the code. Same, he has pulled his code and he has taken the code from one developer. But application functionality is not working in another machine, but application code is working in one machine. So what is the difference? Why it is happening? Okay. So every server, like two servers are identical servers, and what are the configurations which are available in the one server? Same configuration should be available in the other server. Then only our application working. So if you do any local changes to your server to work application, if those changes will not be available in another system, you will not be working. Okay, so that is the case we have to see. Okay, so in order to make this two systems identical, so what the developer will do, I will not do any changes for application. You do changes for the entire application. I will take the changes. If it is working in your machine, it should work in my machine. So that is the concept of Docker. Okay, so they will bind everything into a container. Just we will carry that container and we will run it anywhere. So that is the concept of Docker. So finally, we have Kubernetes. So it is a cluster management. So what is meant by cluster? Cluster is nothing but group of servers. So here mainly we are focusing on our deploying the application. We are mainly focusing on deploying your application, how to deploy your application, how to expose your application outside the world or internally if you want to expose it. So all the things we can see in the Kubernetes. Kubernetes mainly designed for application deployment. So finally we have Terraform. So Terraform is now, there is a huge demand for the Terraform. Okay, so if you are good at Terraform and you know you have knowledge on Docker, Kubernetes, configuration management, anything DevOps side, so Terraform becomes a huge advantage. So if you put in a resume Terraform with good skills, okay, so definitely get a job. Okay, so Terraform is now like we can tell it is a hot cake. Everybody, every company, they want to go with the automation solution like infrastructure as a code. I want to set up infrastructure for a company. What we need to do? So if you want to do the infrastructure for your company, so I want to make an automation solution. I want to create a resources in AWS. I want to create a resource in Azure, Google Cloud, databases, virtual machines. Every work I want to do it with a single place. So Terraform is like a single solution. You can do the entire infrastructure for organization with the help of the Terraform. Okay, so Terraform is very, very important. If you understand the concepts, so you will be getting definitely good a job on DevOps side. Okay, so this one. So finally, we have monitoring tools. Monitoring tools. So there are multiple monitoring tools are there. So infra level monitoring are there, application level monitoring. So if you want to monitor only applications, we have a separate monitoring tools are available. So if you want to monitor only your infrastructure, like CPU, memory, storage, if that is getting CPU or memory or storage, anything that is getting overloaded, like storage is completing 90%. I want to get automatic trigger. I want to write some scripts. So any unimportant files are there, I want to delete it. So those type of automation works if you want to do it. So we can go with monitoring tools. Once you deploy the applications, we need to monitor the server. So there are a lot of tools are available in the market. So most commonly used is Splunk, Grafana, Prometheus, Kibana. Okay. Dynatrace. Okay. So these are the naming convention. You can see it. Have you worked on any one of the monitoring tool? So did you work with the Grafana Prometheus? Did you work on the Kibana? Did you have chance to get through Kibana, Dynatrace, Splunk? Okay. So those type of things will have it. So we will discuss any one of the tool from it to understand how the monitoring will works. So finally, we will go with projects. So we will learn the tools individually. So first we'll learn individual tools, DevOps tools. We'll understand what exactly the tools will do. So what are the concepts we can see in the tool? And finally, we'll go with project. So combination of all these things, we will set up projects and we will make the whole solution as an automation works. Okay. So this is the entire plan for your DevOps activities. Okay. So these are the basics for it. So if you know, it will be advantage because in the real-time scenario, you will have to log into the Linux environment. You have to perform the Linux commands like tailing log file, search for the files, grepping it, checking space issues, file is there or not. Okay. So those things, if you want to do it, so we have to perform your Linux things. Okay. Scripting is not mandatory, but if you know the scripting, so you can make it as a automation work, same repeated work if you are doing it. So we can remove the manual works and we can make it as a whole work as automation with the help of the scripting. Suppose I want to delete the files which are created in the temp folder daily. So I can't log into the server. I can't delete the files regularly. So you have to write a script and we have to make a scheduler program for it. So like that, we need to write a scripts for us. Okay. So these are helpful for us. Now one comes to the tools. In your tools, we are going to discuss about the Git, Jenkins, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, model. Okay. So even if you work in the real-time scenario, even they will ask her what are the DevOps tools you know, means you can tell it. So I know Git, Jenkins, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform. So what are the tools you know it? The interview will ask the questions from these tools only. So what is Kubernetes? What is Docker files? What is Ansible configuration management will do? Okay. What are the activities you work on the Jenkins side? So those things only they will discuss in your team. Okay. So these are the things. So if you get chance to work on other tool, so if you know how to work with one tool, we can easily work with other tools. So just they will guide it, but how the workflow will works, they will guide you. But the commands and everything, they will not guide you. So we need to do with self-learning. Okay. So in the real-time scenario, you may chance to may get not only this tool. If you get a chance to make Bitbucket means same source code management, how the code is managed by the developers. With the help of the Bitbucket, they will tell you guidance for you. Okay. So we need to grasp the things. Okay. So these are the alternative tools are available. So if you get a chance to alternate tool, like means you need to grasp it. Okay. So these are the DevOps related activities we are going to learn in this current session. Okay. So basics are Linux and shell scripting. So those are a part of your DevOps. If you are good at those areas, so this directly, if you write any command here, you can easily understand it. Okay. So first thing is we are going to discuss about the first tool is source code management. Okay. So what is meant by source code management means developers are working on a particular project. The person who is sitting in the different geographic locations, they can easily share the code and they can combine the code, they can merge their code and they can work the code and they can test the code in their local machine. How the code will be managed, it entire project code, what are the operations we can perform with the code, all the things we can have it in a source code management. Okay, source code is nothing but coding part, like the developers will write the coding part. So any project will contains the coding. You take any programming language, Java, .NET, PHP, Node.js, AngularJS, any programming language you take it. So the developers will be writing the code. We are not writing any code, just we are managing it. So creating the central repository. So if any DevOps related files are there, how to work with source code management, what are the commands we are using for the source code management. So we should know it. Okay. So everything it's a commands. So just we need to know what command we have to use it for which functionality. Okay. So this is the way we get. So one comes to the Git. So in this training, we are going to discuss about the open source tools only. We are not going with licensed versions. Okay. Open source is nothing but we can directly download from the internet and we can use in our local machine. For example, Notepad++, we don't need to take the licenses. Just go to the browser, Notepad++, if you click on it, click next, we can use the Notepad++ until your system exists. So those are called as open source. So there will be like if you're downloading something like Microsoft Professional MS Office, so you should have a purchase a license key. Certain days is a trial version will be there, certain days, 7 days free version will be there. After that, if you are trying to use it, it will tell that your license has been expired. You have to purchase the license. Those type of softwares we are going to call it as a license. So in our training, we are going with open source. Why? Because after certain days, if you want to go with other tool, we can't purchase the licenses. So everything in this training, we will go with open source tools. So one of the open source tool is Git. Okay, so Git comes under the source code management tool. How the code is managed by the different developers in the real-time scenario, we are going to see it. Everything it's a command. Okay, so you may get a chance to work in new project. New project means scratch project. You have to work on the scratch project, or second one, you may get a chance to work on the existing project. Existing project means directly they will share the SCM URL for you. Okay, so every URL it ends with .git. So if you are working on the project code, you have to get your project code .git. Even if you are creating the new project also, so that ends with .git. Our URL, the naming conventions, what are the naming conventions we are using it? So we have to have the extensions like .git. Okay, so this one. So now one comes to the Git. So we have terminologies there. So first of all, we need to understand the Git workflow, how the Git workflow looks like. Okay, so Git workflow. So when it comes to the Git workflow, so we have working directory will be there, staging area. This is our local repository. And finally, we have central repository. Okay, so this is the complete workflow of your system. Whenever you are adding anything in your Git related project code, so this is the workflow, entire Git will works. Okay, so working directory, staging area, local repository, and central repository. So what is meant by working directory? Okay, so to practice all the things, just we will launch one server here. Just to create the server name is git server 8 p.m. batch. Just I'm creating one server name. Take Linux machine. Take any key pair, existent key pair. Click on launch instance. So meanwhile, the server is getting ready. We will discuss about the Git workflow. Okay. So in the Git workflow, so if we are working in the folder where you are going to do Git initialization. First step in the Git is Git initialization. So this is for Scratch project. Okay, so when you are working in the Scratch project, we will create one folder. So that folder we are going to call it as a working directory. So when you initialize the Git, so once you create a file, so what we will do? So if you are creating any new file or files or directories, anything, any extension of the files you are creating it. So what we will do? So we need to type every time Git status. Okay, so if you do the Git status, it will tell that so you have modified the code, you have created the new files, you have updated the files, you have deleted the files. You will getting the tracking status of your project. You will get it with the help of the Git status. Okay, so now if you add the files, if you apply the Git add command, so the files will move from the working directory to the staging area. Okay, so now once the files move to the staging area, so we need to perform the commands called git commit. So once you apply the git commit command, so the files will move from the staging area to the local repository. So this central repository visible to all. So this is your local machine, whole works. This work local repository, local developer machine. So from here to here, we are going to perform if you want to push your code, so we are going to apply the command called git push. So if you want to pull the latest changes from the code, we are going to use the command called git pull. Okay, so this is a complete workflow of your Git. So this complete workflow, we will test it now. Okay, so what is this central repository? So just go to the browser, type github.com. So once you type the github.com, click on sign out. So as you are a first time you are using github.com. So once you open the github.com, so it will ask for the sign up option. Just click on sign up. I don't have any account with the GitHub. It's like a free account. It is this company is providing certain space for us. You can upload your project code for testing. So this is a public repository. Anybody can access your code. But in the real-time scenario, they will go with licensed versions. They will not go with public one. Okay. So what is your personal email ID? Just enter it. So it will ask for your password. So finally, they will check your something like puzzle test. They will give it. Can you identify the streets? Can you identify the roads? Can you identify the signals like that? So once you enter it, so your account will be activated. So what is your personal email ID? So they will send the activation link. You can click on the sign in link. So once your account is activated, just will click on the sign in. So once your account is activated, just provide your personal email ID details and click on the password. Okay, so once you provide the password, you will not be seeing empty. So your all project codes we can maintain at the repository section. So if you click on the repository section, you can create your repositories. What type of project you are working in, all the things we can create things. So if you are creating the first time you are working on the repositories, just click on the repository. Okay, so what is repository name? Git sessions 7 p.m. 8 p.m. batch. Just I'm creating one repository name. So click on create repository. Okay, so like that. So this repository URL, we are going to call it as a central repository URL. Okay, so this is called as a central repository URL. So every developer will pushes the code or push the code from here itself. So this code we are going to call it as a central repository. So this URL, every developer will have it. So the developer is sitting anywhere. So they will add their code or they will take the changes from other developer with the help of this remote repository URL. So this is called URL. So this is a fresh project. If you refresh the page, we don't have any coding files, anything, nothing is there. Okay, so now once the server is ready, okay, now you can take this. This is a fresh server. Just take the server, browse it. Login as it is. Okay, so once we log in it, just we will check it the history. So any activities we have performed it, nothing as activities performed it. So if we log in with root also, we can see the history. So no activities performed, just it's a fresh system. Okay, so once you got the fresh system, just if you are going to work with Git, so we will check the Git version. Git -- version will check it. So whether the Git is installed or not. If it is not installed, sudo yum install Git. Clear the screen. Now Git -- version. Now Git got installed. So now if you perform anything like Git add something, you type it. Okay. So not a repository or something parent and dot, it is not there, it is showing. Okay. So if you want to do this entire workflow, so first of all, we need to create one directory. Something like you are working on the Java project. Make directory. If you do the ls, we got the folder. Just we'll go to the folder. Which folder you want to make it as a working directory? So we have to perform the command called git initialize. If it is a scratch project, I don't have any files or anything. So just if this is scratch project, we will use the git initialize. So once you do the git initialize, automatically .git folder will be created automatically. So previously when you type ls-la, we don't have any .git. Now if you type ls-la, we got .git folder. So what this will do? So now we can perform the git operations. Okay, so every time if you are doing any activity, so we need to do git status. So if you do the git status, what we will do? So what are the current status of your project code? We can identify it. For example, if you want to add any new file, just I'm creating a new file, touch login.java. Just I've created a file, but same thing if you do the git status. Untracked one. If you are doing any activity in this inside this folder, once you do the git initialization, so it will tell that if you are creating a new file, if you are updating the file, if you are deleting the file, if you are creating the folder, subfolder, subfiles, any activity you are doing inside this folder, where you done the git initialization, so it will tell that it's untracked one. So you should get every time like this. And branch matter, nothing to commit, everything is clean. So if you are creating any files, this Git is not understanding it. You have created the file, but this file has been not moved to the staging area. So working directly to the file to move to the staging area. So we need to apply the command called git add. So just go here. We will type the command called git status. We will do git add. Again, if you type the git status, so previously it is telling that untracked files, it is giving hint for us. You need to add the command called git add. Okay, so now if you type the git status, Okay. So now it is telling that changes to be committed. So then once you apply the git add command, so in the backend process, the file has been moved to the staging area. So if you want to push the file to the staging area to the local repository, so we need to use the command called git commit command. So now git commit -m is for message. Just we can do any message, new file added. Clear the screen. Again, you type the git status. So once you do the git status, so we can see the information that on branch master, nothing to clean. We have the new file. Same thing. If you are updating this file also every time. So I'm putting some hello world in this file. If you are updating the file also, if you do the git status, again, it will do the same activity. You need to add the file. The stages are not staged for commit. Again, if you want to add all the files, we can use dot also. We can use git status, git commit, changes has done for login page. Any message you can give it, clear the screen. Now, if you type the git status, everything. Okay. Created a file and you can do the login. Okay. So like that. So if we are doing any modifications like creating the file, updating the file, deleting the file, any create, update, edit, delete, any operation you are doing it. So when you do the status, it is telling that untracked one. So every time we need to add it, we need to commit it and move the files to the local repository. Now this file I want to move to the central repository. So my local machine not understand where I need to push it. So for that one, so just we have the .git file is there, right? So in the .git file, we have config file is there. So here we can see that. So if you already added our remote repository details or not. If it is not added, we can see the details here. So if you want to add your central repository, git remote add origin is the command. So which URL you want to add it? So that URL we need to take it. So our project URL is this thing. So the system will not understand. We need to add to the system that. So git add remote add origin. Same thing, you can go and type the cat git config. Now you can see that remote origin. Now the files has been added to local repository and central repository details are added. Now we have to perform git pull or git push. Now from my local repository, I want to see my coding changes to everybody. So that we have to use git push. So if you type git push -u origin master. So it will ask for username and password. Just we need to enter the username and password. Okay. So if you don't, previously it is asking for your login username and password. Now they have changed it to the token. So we have to generate the token in order to push the code from your local repository to the central repository. So just what are the central repository? We don't have empty files. Now this file I want to move to the central repository. So now we have to get the token. So what are the username? We have it. Just go to the settings. So here, developer settings, personal access token. So tokens classic, generate a new token. We can generate the new token. So what is the token name? So we can give anything, Devops, 8 PM batch. Okay, how much duration we want it? We can extend it 30, 60, 90. Custom, you can put it up. So currently for training, we require 30 days. So just repo related, workflow related, packages related, admin related, delete packages, everything will take the permissions for this token. Generate a token. So now we got this token. Take this token and keep in handy. Now I want to push the code from this file. I want to push to my developer machine in local repository is there. I want to push the code to the central repository. Now what we can do? Okay. So now if we want to push the code, so just we need to apply the command git push -u origin master. Okay. It will ask for the username and password. Okay. Okay. So git push, it will ask for the username. So what is my email ID that was there for my this account while logging to this server. So this login to this account, I'm using my personal email ID. That email ID we need to pass it. Next, we need to give the what are the token we have generated. Just to copy this token and right click your mouse. Now you can see. So we are not getting any error. It is able to push it. Just come here and refresh the page. Okay, login.java got it. So different developers are working on the code. So we want to make the code to be available to centrally. Why? Because different developers are working from different geolocation. So they can't request for the individual developer. So what are the changes you are doing it? Okay, we can do it. Okay. Okay, so like that, I can't ask each individual developer. So what are the logic you written? I will merge the code in my local machine and test it. So we no need to ask anybody, just will tell that. So what are the changes you've done it? Just push the code to the center repository. Okay, so now different developers can do these operations. Okay, this is the workflow of your Git. Okay, so able to get it, guys? Any doubts? Any doubts, any questions? Okay, if you don't have any doubts, tomorrow we'll discuss some more topics.